All right, welcome to The Explainer. You know, some of the biggest stories out there, they aren't always splashed across the front page. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight in these industries we interact with every single day and, well, we just don't give them a second thought. And today, we're going down to the wire to uncover a really fascinating one.
I mean, seriously, think about the wires running through the walls of your house. Probably the most boring part of your home, right? But what if I told you that the industry behind those wires isn't just profitable? It's actually become a full-blown battleground for some of the biggest corporate giants in the country.
So our story kicks off in a pretty strange place. A surprisingly, well, electric first quarter. See, for the wires and cables business, this time of year is supposed to be dead, the absolute slowest part of their calendar. But this year, yeah, something was very different. Usually Q1 is just sluggish. Government budgets are just getting reset, rainy weather often slows down construction, and all the dealers are busy clearing out old inventory. It's just not a great time for sales. But this year, the whole script just got thrown out the window.
And when I say they threw out the script, I mean it. Just look at this revenue growth. It was staggering. Polycab, the big leader in the space, saw its revenue shoot up by 26% compared to last year. KEI Industries was right on their heels at 25.4%. Even a smaller player like RR Kabel grew by almost 14%. For a quarter that's normally a snooze fest, these are just blockbuster numbers.
And look, this boom wasn't just about selling more stuff. It was about earning more money on everything they sold. Polycab's profit after tax, it jumped by a massive 49%. That's the kind of leap that pushes your profit margin into double digits, which, let me tell you, is a huge deal in this business. It's a real benchmark of success. Okay, so what is really going on here? To get to the bottom of this boom, we've got to decode the business itself. Like, what are these companies actually selling, and how do they make their money? All right, first things first. Wires and cables are not the same thing. A wire, that's just a simple single strand of metal for, connecting a fan or a light. It's a basic product, but here's the twist. It's often more profitable. Cables, on the other hand, are the heavy-duty guys. They're these complex, bundled power lifters for big industrial projects. And to make those, you need to shell out serious cash and get through all sorts of tough government certifications. It's not easy at all. So you can think of their business like a three-legged stool. The foundation, the main leg, is their core wires and cables division. That's what's driving all this growth. Then, to beef up their profits, they have a second leg, FMEG, or fast-moving electrical goods. Think branded fans and lights, stuff with better margins. The third leg is EPC. That's supplying massive infrastructure projects. Great for volume, but the margins are notoriously thin. So it's a part of the business they're now rethinking. But here's the catch. The industry's got a huge Achilles heel. A whopping 70% of a company's total cost comes down to just two metals, copper and aluminum. And the prices for those? They bounce all over the place on the global market, which means your profitability is constantly at the mercy of forces you have absolutely no control over. Okay, so we've got the business model and we know their core weakness. And yet, despite all that volatility, the industry is just soaring? Why? Well, it turns out it's being pushed forward by some incredibly powerful tailwinds.
Driver number one is super simple: construction. The real estate market has been on an absolute tear, and every single one of those new homes, new offices, new apartment buildings, they all need to be wired from top to bottom. It's a direct and massive source of demand.
The second major force is a huge wave of government spending. It's happening directly through massive investments in railways and utilities, and indirectly with incentives that encourage companies to build new factories. But the real game changer here is the massive push into renewable energy. Solar and wind farms need tons and tons of specialized high-margin cables, the very kind that not just anyone can produce. Now you have to know, this kind of explosive long-term growth, it does not go unnoticed. All the success has basically rung the dinner bell, and some of the biggest sharks in the corporate ocean have started circling.
Two absolute Goliaths have answered the call, the Adani and Aditya Birla groups. And they're not just dipping a toe in the water, they are built to conquer this market. Think about their advantages. They own the copper suppliers, so their biggest cost is already under their control. They have their own massive construction projects, so instant customers. They even have huge cement businesses with supply chains they can just piggyback on for distribution. It's a truly formidable threat.
But wait, this isn't a story about a simple takeover. The old guard, the established players like Polycab and KEI, they are not just going to roll over. No way. They are deeply entrenched and they are fighting back hard to defend their turf.
And their defense is built on advantages that you just can't buy overnight. They had these deep distribution networks, decades-long relationships with the electricians on the ground who actually recommend which product to use. They have brand loyalty built over years of trust, and they have a powerful defensive moat, that complex, time-consuming government certification process for specialized cables. A newcomer can't just skip that line.
And hey, this isn't just wishful thinking on their part. The incumbents are pretty confident that their moats give them a significant head start. They estimate it'll take any new player at least 3 to 4 years just to match their products and their distribution reach.
And they aren't just playing defense, they're on the attack. Their strategy is shifting and shifting decisively. They're ditching the low-margin contract work to focus on their profitable retail business. And critically, they're innovating, pushing into these highly specialized areas, like advanced solar cables, where deep expertise, not just brute force, is what wins the day.
So, the battle lines are drawn. On one side, you've got the Goliaths, with their immense scale and vertical integration. On the other, the incumbents, with their deep networks, brand trust, and specialized expertise. It sets up a fascinating final question for this once boring industry. Will this battle be won with brute force, or will innovation and relationships carry the day?